You ready?
Hit that button.
Ain't nobody ready for that.
Recording live from the E. Haley Memorial Studios, straight out of Elmont, Ontario, it's time for This Death Clock Has 60 Minutes, your one and only weekly Warmahordes news broadcast. It's 8 p.m. Wednesday night, the beers are cold, the news is fresh, and the death clock starts now.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry for the delay. Welcome to the show. This is what happens when Maelstrom starts drinking sortilege early on.
You can't prove any. Oh, you can.
We could totally prove
It's
it.
like
There's
we have video proof.
Tonight's going to be an interesting night because we had a wicked awesome show planned where we were going to talk about Menoth all night long.
All night long.
We brought on our local Menoth expert, Kris Aubin.
Expert.
He just called you an expert.
We live in a small town, but yeah.
We live in a small town,
I would be an expert.
and let's be honest, in the Ottawa meta, you play Menoth the most.
That's true.
And very well.
It's true.
So we brought you along to tell us a bit about Menoth, but then this thing happened.
There was a thing.
There was some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What happened, Jason?
This thing happened where stuff came down and everybody was like, "Oh, damn!
Oh no,
Yeah, son.
my faction's broken and I quit the game.
Yeah."
Oh, you've been on the Kador forums.
No, seriously. There was an errata today, you
There was-
guys.
What?
An errata.
An
The
errata.
January errata came
Errata.
early.
Came super early. It came in December even.
In December.
I was
before
expecting
Christmas.
more like December, like January 15th.
Yep.
But they like hit us with that crap like.
Well, didn't they say not that long ago on an insider that it would be like January, middle of January?
I think they kind of implied that that's
Yeah.
when they needed. There was further testing required.
Right.
Well, maybe at that point they were thinking of having the Scorn one rolled in to the regular errata.
Nope. They
Nope,
said
nope.
that one would be February.
So that would be like we're making numbers up.
I think they just wanted to pull the Band-Aid off before Christmas.
I think
That's a good idea.
I think that may have been what happened. But anyway, an errata hit today, so we're going to talk about that for a while. We did do, if you're interested in an in-depth analysis
Yes.
of
Then
every...
don't listen to anything we've ever
Then don't
done.
ever listen to anything we've ever done. But if you're interested in sort of like a more in-depth analysis where we
first
go through it,
impressions.
a first impression, bullet by bullet, errata talk. Think of it more along the lines of like you're driving with a bunch of buddies in your car, and they're talking about the errata with Scott Tellerico, who actually knows something.
And Menoth John, who really wishes you'd stop calling on him in class.
Yeah, exactly. Think of it like that. That's kind of what happened.
I kind of want to put your dialogue from that to the Zoolander scene where they're driving in the car. And then they have the gas fight.
Yeah, the gas fight happened right around the end there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, we did talk about the errata in depth, in detail, and our first thoughts, it is like driving in a car with a bunch of your buddies who just are talking about stuff. But if you want to listen to our analysis on it, give that a go.
Mm-hmm.
You can listen to that all day long and get our...
It's only an hour. It's only an hour of your time.
But over and over again.
But over and over.
And over.
Which normally our errata talks are only like half an hour. That one was...
What was the big errata?
There was a lot of stuff to cover.
Yeah. So let's talk about the news first, because we have news to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We're probably going to skip focus this evening, because it's kind of going to fold into our Menoth talk anyway. So if you want to skip to just us talking about Menoth and not us talking about any errata and news stuff, you probably skip to about halfway through the podcast, because I'm guessing that's how long we're going to talk about this. All right. Let's not talk about errata for a second. Let's talk about some more stuff, a couple more trickles coming about the new faction.
Oh, yes, the leakage.
There's been some complaints.
Leakage.
There have been. One of the problems with this type of marketing is that you need to balance the I really want more information to the this information's coming so slowly that I don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
And I think they're just starting to lean over into the nobody gives a shit area. I think we haven't even seen a model yet. The only thing we've seen
Pieces.
from an actual
We saw a
model
shoulder pad.
is like a cloak / shoulder pad. And if they really need to give us something. Now, when is SmogCon? Because I know we're getting like the name at SmogCon, and we'll probably get some more info. And I heard a rumor that the pre-release model there might actually be from the new faction.
Yeah, they said
Oh.
that. That's,
They
that's
have
not a
confirmed
rumor.
that now?
That's been official?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, I think we can all agree that the problem is that everybody's excited. And they're doing this weird hunt for the address or whatever.
Yeah,
ARG.
it's an ARG is what they call it,
Yeah.
alternate reality game.
And what we're showing on our page is the stuff coming from the ARG, and it's kind of annoying people who don't understand it's an ARG because they just want information.
Well, one of the nice things about if you follow our page is the fact that not only do we give you the clues to the ARG, we give you what they have found.
Yeah, so you don't have to play yourself.
So you don't have to play yourself if you
Don't
follow
even
us.
have to play along with the game.
Wait for smarter, better people to do it for you.
Yeah. Anyway,
My whole
so there's nothing really new to
People
talk
with
about.
more time on their
I think
hands.
what we can really boil this down to, there's nothing really new to talk about.
Well, I don't know if you guys caught it in the Insider, but you might have already said this. But Matt Wilson said when they were coming out,
Oh, really?
which is July.
Oh,
He said they'll be releasing in July.
excellent.
There we go. So we know an official date now for release. So maybe the big thing is maybe everybody can just ignore. If you are
That's
annoyed,
what I'm doing.
If you're annoyed,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was down for like the first couple months, and now I'm just like, oh Jesus, it's another picture of trees with snow on them, and
apparently,
it's getting a little, it's pushing the limit.
so all right. So just ignore it.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Ignore
I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to fucking ignore it because I have the
Exactly.
power to do that.
Exactly. That's what you're going to do.
Yep.
All right. Before we talk more about that, so that's a kind of our apology for those people that are getting annoyed at seeing stuff that they don't care about. And if you
Stop paying attention
if you
to it.
subscribe to the news
I wasn't
Machine
gonna
page,
apologize.
that's all you're going to get.
Yeah.
We're going to talk quickly about tonight's beer.
Yes.
The beer
Please.
tonight coming once again from our friends at Crooked Mile Brewery,
Mm-hmm.
who are making this whole thing possible by giving us beer because that saves us money.
Yeah, just straight up saves us money.
But here's the thing: like we can say that they give us beer, but we actually really like this beer.
Oh yeah.
Like I wouldn't just go. I wouldn't go to like Molson and be like, "Hey, give me 2 free Canadians, and I'll put you on my podcast."
yeah. No, that's not going to happen. 'cause
I spend money
that-
on this beer.
yeah,
This
quite
beer is local. It's awesome, and it's made by gamers. And by the name, you know it's for gamers.
Yes.
Tonight we're going to be trying the Highland Hill Walker.
Yes.
That's a troll beer right
That's
there.
a troll
Yeah.
beer. Pretty
And
much
last
right
last week we had the Standing Stone,
there. Crow's Castle.
Crow's
the week
Castle.
before
These
that.
are all very very gamer oriented names.
Well, they are gamers. These
They
guys,
are.
these
They're
guys,
2 of our very own, 3 of our very own.
Yep. Totally. So here's the cool thing. If you are in the Elmont area, please go stop by. Say hello. Tell them that Moose Machine sent you.
Mm-hmm.
They won't. They
They will be really confused.
No. They have like T-shirts and the whole night.
Oh,
they
great.
watch our show.
Oh no,
All that kind of stuff.
they've seen this
They've seen this.
and they still gave us
I
beer.
know. The beer might run out. Let's be honest. So tonight we're going to try the Highland Hill Walker. It's a Scottish export. It's a bit of an easier drinking beer.
Okay.
Overall. I got to test this beer very early on
Oh, did you?
in the development cycle, which was pretty cool.
That's very fancy.
So I'm going to hand this over to Maelstrom to
And I'm
open
gonna
up
get
and
the honors.
dole out. You're going to dole it out, and we'll tell you all about it. Well, hand me your glasses.
Everybody hand
down,
me your
boys.
shot glasses, and I will
And
pour
I'll
it in my
drink the
normal
rest.
glass.
Because that's how it works.
There's a lot of equipment here.
Yeah, totally a lot.
that you could spill beer on.
All right,
So, how long is the test period on this beer?
The test period.
Well,
That
see,
smells
when
delicious.
When
you're
did I first
working
try
on
it?
a model and you want to get it right, it looks like Privateer Press is doing what these nice gentlemen did with their beer, and they're going to release
Are they
little
going
bits of
to-
it into the world.
Are they going to errata this beer?
I doubt they'll errata it because they're going to have a field test.
Ooh.
And with the field test of this beer, Will said they got it pretty close.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, this was like an easy drinking beer. One of the cool things about these guys is that their beers they've got 2 hoppy beers basically, but the rest are really designed to be that more middle of the road, easy drinking, with all of the focus on let's rip everybody's faces off with
With too many hops.
all the hops. It's nice to have a brewery doing something a little bit different anyway. They have
I
the
like
hoppy
it.
beer, yeah.
It's dark.
But
smooth.
I wasn't like throwing away your segue. That was a
I
beautiful
was
segue.
trying.
That was a beautiful
I
segue.
was really trying.
Back to the point. So tell me a bit about they're changing the way that they're going to test.
Yeah. So they have always had internal and external testers at Privateer Press. Obviously, once they have, we want the model to kind of do this thing, and then they make up a bunch of random numbers, and then they test it and see how close their random number generator got to, a decent model. And they fart around with how good things are, and then they release it out into the external testers. And the external testers are all under large amounts of NDA, and most of the time you will never know who they are, but occasionally something slips and you're like, you have previous knowledge. But those testers do a bunch of playing as well, and they get it back to PP, and then PP probably makes a few little changes, and then the model was released. But in the transition from Mark 1 to Mark 2, there was this thing called the field test. And Alban, were you working at that time?
I was.
Yeah. So during the
Hello.
during the field test, so basically there was basically a copy of all the. From what I understand, I wasn't actually playing at the time. From what I understand, there was a copy of basically a large amount of the models and rules, and they just put them out there, and everybody tested it, and information went back to PP.
That's the summary of it, yes. I believe they kind of took it faction or group by group and then doled out things in order to parse the information, because what I remember was that it was a huge job, and it took the development staff months and months and months of going over and making changes and implementing them with the playtest community, and then taking all their feedback and seeing what had value and what didn't. Mm-hmm. And it was a huge job.
So, but what came out of that huge job was Mark II. What seemed, at least for myself coming in a little bit later in Mark II, what seemed like a really solid game. And because of all the feedback that PP has had about the state of Mark III and how good or bad people seem to think it is, they're trying to get the community more involved. So one of the things they're going to do is bring back these field tests of models, in this case specifically. So I think they said it was going to be about 3 months ahead of time on the model. And then we as the community, now they didn't specifically say whether it would be completely open release.
They actually did kind of state to a certain degree that it would be specific groups of people.
Okay,
but there would be some open field testing as well. But it seemed to be kind of in the middle. It was like, it'll be offered to anybody that wants to help because we want all your feedback, but it'll be to specific groups.
So maybe everybody who applied
could be
to be a beta, to be an external tester, everybody will get some things, and some groups will get other things. We don't know exactly yet, but basically the idea is that PP is going to get this information out there and try and tap into the hive mind of all the huge amount of people out there who actually play the game and get their input too, because you can't think of what you can't think of. And when you've been part of a design process, you have a certain thing in your head, right? So if this is a model that is supposed to summon the dead, and they write certain rules on the card that says this model can raise D3 models a turn. And when you don't define raise correctly or something, and maybe people read it that they can put models back into a unit that doesn't exist, or they can just generate models without a unit, or all of these things, and you need to figure out, maybe that's broken that way. Maybe we need to change the wording.
Well, to touch on that is that they already have a very competent small playtest group of some of the top players and judges. So, and these people aren't dummies. When they see these new rules, they can quickly identify where there's going to be problems. But I think what they may be doing with the broader playtest scale is that they kind of want to look at the volume of maybe not just the top, say, 10% of players, but see if there's any issues that come through in the rules to kind of like the Joe Blow community, right?
No, I agree with you, yeah. One of the things that also have, I mean, G, you and I have been part of beta testing for games, for video games for years. I mean, I've literally been a beta tester since I was 18 years old for MMOs.
Yeah, I think it's been about that for myself.
It's because I've been doing it for so long. If a beta test comes out, it's pretty much just this is my card type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think a lot of us have done that. We know that it takes a beta test to break things. It takes mass audience to break something, and you're never going to find the problem until you give it to the masses. And I think that's part of it. I think going to that dynamic style of update is not a terrible thing. We've gotten used to it as an audience.
Yeah,
which I think was their worry, is that we weren't going to be used to it.
In the computer industry, we call this an agile development environment, where what you're doing is you're always sort of checking in with, usually it's the client, but with the people using it, and turning quickly to take any problems that they have into account, as opposed to a monolithic development environment where you make the plan, you execute the plan, and then hope it sells.
Well, and the thing is, the gaming industry that the original games are coming from, and Kris can probably comment on this more, they came out of the Dungeons and Dragons style, which, we started with Gary Gygax, who said, no, this is how shit's going to work.
Yep.
And then we went to, okay, let's try to make it so that everybody loves it. Oh, everybody hates it. All right, okay, well, this time we'll try to use some of the stuff that made it great before and use some of the stuff that made it work last. No, that didn't work either.
MMOs are really cool. Why don't we make it a pen and paper MMO?
Let's just do that. You know what I mean? And there's a fine balance. You can't do it with pen and paper. You can't fix all your problems the way that a video game can. But there are things that you can adapt and adopt, and I'm hoping that's
now,
what we're seeing.
One of the things that PP is doing is that they are taking a page out of the video games book, and one of the wonderful things you can do as a video game, because you are not encumbered by many, many, many pieces of paper, is that you can, when you release your changes, they happen immediately, and they happen for everybody. And PP is going down the same path. Cards, as a product that is packed into the box, are disappearing.
To a degree.
You will still need them to play the game.
Yep.
They will still come in starter boxes, because we want to introduce people to this idea of model goes with card. But as a thing that when you buy a blister pack you will get, they are gone. They're no longer being packed in.
So let's go to Kris, because you're part of a larger gaming industry. Do you feel like the gaming industry itself is going that direction? Are we going to more dynamic content?
Yeah, for sure. I think with role-playing games, you're already seeing a lot of people using computers, but also tablets and other ways of interacting and keeping track of their information in that kind of digital format. And Privateer's gone a long way to make War Room work really, really well.
Yeah.
For this kind of game, and I think other companies have tried to jump on the digital bandwagon, and some have done okay, and some have failed terribly. But it comes down to like how it's implemented and how it's going to work with the product.
I was stunned today to see somebody say that War Room didn't work.
Yeah, that surprised me, because
I saw that and I was like, really?
our friends at Tinker House have done an amazing job at making it, actually usable.
And I'm not singling out any individual person, but I've heard this a few times, and I'm like,
there's the odd.
Man, really?
I love the bugs you see on the Facebook pages where it's like, oh, this is my Menoth mechanic, and he has like 2 Power 21 Judicator fist weapons that appear magically on that card, which is kind of fun. But, I'm sure those
no piece of software
are
is
very
perfect.
rare. Yeah,
But
I think this kind of digital format is where you're seeing a lot of games going.
I think we have to go that way, because most of us spend our time on our iPads now or our phones. I think that's just it's a general migration. We got to move forward.
There's going to be some sloppy instances though during competitive play where someone's iPad dies or someone loses their game, and then all of a sudden it comes down to the judge's call.
Yeah, and that's where the free PDFs of the cards are going to come in, because if you're worried about that. Like if you have a sketchy old tablet, or you just literally don't trust them, they have or I'm not sure if they have it yet, but they definitely have it for the errated cards, but I believe they're going to have it for all cards, is there will be a copy of all the cards online for you to download.
Yeah, that was totally announced today. That you will be able to get every single card in the game as a download from a PDF. So no more buying a card pack. And they were going to do, they were talking about doing like a limited foil pack card releases whenever they did an errata.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that just got too unwieldy. How do we get that to all of our stores? How do we make sure that those sell? How do we,
It's expensive too.
Yeah, totally.
To give away free cards
Foil cards.
Well, I assumed they would be charging $3.99 or whatever.
for a card.
No, for the
for
pack.
the pack,
okay.
for
The
foil
entire
pack.
errata.
But then you still have to argue, well, now I have to buy more. I have to buy more. I have to buy more. But there's always going to be an argument why we don't want to do that. So
That's
give
the
it away
best thing
for
about
free.
miniature games, though.
We're going to argue.
More stuff.
There's more stuff to buy.
Argue.
Well, one other thing to touch on how they're using the rules or displaying the rules is that they're going to be taking them out of the Force books, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's all
that's
going to
really
be
neat.
fluff and hobby content. From
Right.
Yeah, one of the things I'm looking forward to is how much extra hobby content they put in there and who they bring on board to do that. Because I would love to see in the in the new Menoth Forces book, you have the theme force, you have the fluff about the theme force, you have the extra models that they're releasing in their fluff, and then you have the in the back a painting guide for the new color scheme that they have released with that theme force. It's like it's Severus's army and it's the Severus theme, and then maybe some content about how to do terrain.
Yeah.
Little
would go with
news
that.
that we could probably announce here on the cast. We did talk to Dallas Kemp this week, and Dallas Kemp is hopefully, we have to get everything cleared. It takes a little bit to make sure that Privateer Press is happy with our questions, but Dallas Kemp is going to be on the cast sometime in January.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get him to talk a bit about some of the expanded hobby content, because it does sound like Privateer Press does care about its hobby fans.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I-
yeah.
I think that's
for
a big
sure.
strategy they're going with Mark III is that they have a solid competitive play community, but I think they're moving into that kind of broader, like, welcome all people, from like the competitive people to the people who want to have the hobby. And the hobby's always kind of been this redheaded stepchild to Privateer through Mark I and Mark II. But seeing that these Force books now are going to have a lot of new hobby content, it's really kind of refreshing to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think the phrase was "your army, your way."
Yep.
was the phrase that they were using.
No, they don't want to make it so that we all have to paint our army to go to competition. That's been a staple of the PP way from the beginning, and I applaud that. But by the same token,
Once you see your 100th 40K army that was apparently painted with a cosmetic sponge and a can of house paint, you suddenly realize how much you're glad that everybody doesn't have to paint, because there are some people that they're doing
Shouldn't
three
paint.
colors because they had to do three colors, and that they had no love for it and they had no particular interest in it.
so we've got the rules are now going to go free. Well, the PDFs are already free for everybody. So now they'll be more infinitely accessible.
Yep.
The cards are now infinitely accessible, so you no longer need to invest in War Room if you don't want to. You can go to your local Kinko's and print up a batch of things on cardstock.
And they've already said that they're going to have the ability to order cards online.
Right, and you
So-
can order cards. So yes, you can order more cards, and they said it was going to be for a reasonable price. And
Yeah.
generally, when they say a reasonable price, I mean, if we look at their replacement policy and everything else, they're pretty honest about a reasonable price.
Just so you have the heads up, it's usually about 50 cents a card when you're doing a replacement. So I would expect it, if you're doing any kind of bulk, say 10 or more cards, I would expect it to be down under a quarter per card.
Sweet. And then the other bit of news, of course, was that they did announce this week that everybody was getting a theme force
in January.
and that's actually a pretty big deal, because there was a lot of people that were complaining that there was like 4 factions that
Can I just say that it's not everybody's getting a theme force, it's everybody who doesn't already have one?
right. Sorry. Oh god.
It's kind of lame because I'm looking forward to those Menoth theme forces in January, and everyone else gets one too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of course.
It's like my birthday's not important.
No, it's not.
We're Convergence
God.
players. We get
Well,
one
everybody
in
else
no
gets
quarter.
theme forces. Damn it.
Listen, you got your Christmas already, Convergence boy.
Your Kant is back.
Oh God.
Did he ever really leave?
No.
No.
All right, so let's do a quick roundtable on before we move off of errata talk and the changes to the way things are working, because we are running into our time that we need to talk about other things, and we literally, as with every errata talk, could talk about this all goddamn night long.
Yeah.
Let's go to sort of our impressions. We've had a few hours to digest things. We've read the 4 different articles that came out of Privateer Press.
Oh
today.
yeah, so much info dump.
There's
Wow.
like a
Yeah.
wicked amount of info dump. Everybody but Kris read everything.
I looked at it.
He looked at it.
Yeah.
Now that you've had a second chance to kind of digest everything, and let's talk to the guys on the boards too.
Yeah.
How's everybody feeling about things, Maelstrom?
I think generally everybody seems fairly okay with it. A lot of the nerfs I think were expected.
Yeah.
It seems like some people expected a little more on the Menoth nerf front when it comes to high reclaimer.
What errata?
Yeah. But I think generally it seems to have gone over fairly well.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are some salty people.
But you're going to get that.
Anybody that went
That
full
salt.
bore into something,
Yes.
expecting no change.
I only play Kane 2 and Haley in
And
tournaments.
Haley won.
Oh,
My Haley 1
It
Kane
hurts
2
Mom.
pairing was amazing.
was.
It might be kind of like an idea with Mark III and how they leveled out a lot of things, and with this errata, I think
Yeah.
if people are salty about something, I'm gonna get bricks thrown at me for this, but maybe it deserved to be nerfed.
Yes.
Right?
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if there
I
was
think so.
like there was a few minor things with Menoth. Thank the Menoth god. But I was like,
Would not
oh,
be Menoth.
whatever. Those are just slight rules differences or updates and everything
Bringing
felt
wording
fine.
in line.
And I think Fraser makes a good point. He was saying the Madrak 2 nerf was a little harsh,
Mhm.
but most people that were playing against Madrak 2
would say Magic 2 was a little
Yeah,
harsh.
Madrak
Yeah.
2 was a little harsh, and that's the problem and I'm not discounting. I want to put this out there, like, don't throw bricks at me because I'm not discounting your feelings here. I
I am.
understand.
George is.
Hey,
Not-
I am
not
totally-
they nerfed Kane 2 before I even got a chance to really play him.
Yep.
Like, and that's my favorite goddamn Warcaster. And I was so excited to get him on the table eventually when I went back to playing Signar. But here's the thing: when you're playing that and you've gone full bore into that, it's always harder to take
Right.
the other's end of the stick. And I'm not saying don't complain about it, because maybe it was too harsh. Maybe we'll find it down the road that nerf gets pulled back a little bit and things get rebalanced.
Look at Asphyxius.
But by the same token, yeah, let's just play it out. I think we've got a bit of a better game right now, especially when it comes to gargantuans and grievous wounds. Some of the changes to auto damage characters, that kind of stuff. Don't discount those changes, because I think those were all in the right direction.
In regards to the big nerf that everybody was waiting for regarding Kador and the Mad Dog spam, I know Scott, when we had him on earlier for the errata talk, was a little upset. Maybe they went too far.
Oh, but that's the thing. You're going to feel that way.
Yeah. Do you
Especially if you
guys
own all
think
those
maybe
models.
they went a little too far? I mean, they did hit them pretty hard with a point cost increase, and
I know very little about Kador, but I have heard a few people say that, yeah, like now that they've nerfed Mad Dogs, they're just going to get Berserker. All the Berserkers are more expensive now, too.
right.
Yeah,
But-
well, they specifically leveled that playing field so that they
Yeah.
wouldn't just spam something else.
Yeah.
But the Berserkers have a higher mat, right? So they're like a mat 7, whereas the Mad Dogs are a mat 5. So they needed that feet turn from Karchev to actually hit anything, because they need to spend a focus to get any extra speed, and so they're basically spending 2 focus right off the bat, and if they want to boost a hit, that's their 3rd focus gone.
Well, it seemed to be a problem.
Yeah,
Right.
it was a problem
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
I think that particular Jack Spam's problem was winning everything.
Right.
Right.
Like, I mean, yes, to a certain extent, it should have been fixed, but I think there are other spams that should have been looked at. The little dwarfs might have.
Oh no,
The
they're
freebooters?
totally fair and balanced.
Freebooters?
I wasn't going to say anything about the booters,
Freebooters are totally fair and balanced.
but I think the limelight that list was held in
Yeah.
is probably why it got beaten so hard.
I agree.
You know, when you
Well, and
when you
Madrak 2,
prairie
Madrak
dog
2 as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, when you prairie dog your head up that high, the scythe is going to come past.
Yeah, well, And that's the same problem that was happening with Madrak too. Is that once again? I mean, that prairie dog was standing high and clear,
Yeah,
and,
then the
was
lawnmower
limiting
came
people
by.
and was limiting people's ability to take infantry in general.
We have
That's why you take 8 Mad Dogs.
Well, yeah.
yeah.
Fight
We have a
Madrak too.
Kador player on the chat, Kovnik Joe, who says he plays Kador and life is still good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
They
think
still play a great-
Kador's got it way better than they did in
Yeah,
Mark
they
II.
still play a great mixed arms game, and I don't see
And their jacks
anybody
mean
stopping
something?
playing Kador anytime soon.
There's
No.
going to be people angry, but
There's
people
so
will
much
move on.
other good Kador.
Yeah.
Scorn's going to get its own complete errata. Most of you will know that now if you're up on your errata talk. So errata came out today, and there was like no changes to Scorn, and it was weird.
Yeah.
If you are weirded out by that, it's because you did not know the fact that mid-January they're just going to get their own damn errata document. That faction is
89 changes.
yeah. That
Wow.
faction is getting
Really?
Really?
89
Oh, it,
Like
that,
really 89
they
changes.
took all the letters and they
Wow.
put them in that boggle box, like every card, and they just shook the boggle box and were like, put it down, and we're like, this is the new faction.
Oh my god.
The thing, though, I think with the all erratas,
Yeah.
is that people expect the greatest thing to happen,
Right.
right? And what's going to happen is that Scorn will be better and playable, but
Yeah.
I think people are still going to be pretty disappointed.
It will never be far
Of
enough.
course they will.
For some people, it'll never be far enough.
I think that's just the nature of an errata.
But that's
Yeah.
also the squeaky wheel syndrome, which
Yeah.
is the people
Yeah.
that you hear talking the loudest are the ones that are going to complain the loudest. And they're not going to be happy because it's not enough.
as
I
has
didn't
been-
auto win.
Yeah.
yeah.
As has been said before, if PP was going to give everybody $20, somebody would be complaining about how it was folded.
Yeah. Well, all right. So last thing, I want to talk about the SOO before we move on to our
Absolutely.
Menoth talk. So SOO, the hotel blocks came up this week as well.
And the
as
tickets are open.
The tickets are now open.
Okay.
This is going to be one of the coolest cons ever as far as casters are concerned. We literally, if you listen to a War Machine podcast, we have some of the greatest podcasters all
Oh,
gathered
yeah.
in one place. We just found out that Menoth John is going to be there.
John is going to be
Wow.
there. Beer Machine is going to be
Beer
there
Machine.
again. Combo Smite. In fact, the Moose Machine Network is going to have a room
Yep.
at the
Yep.
con.
And we're just going to have open podcasting for anybody who has a podcast. I'm not just going to be like, hey, random dude, here's a microphone.
Don't tell anybody that at 3 a.m. probably nobody's going to be in front of those things.
Well, or just Maelstrom and I doing our this is late night at the SRO, and we both sound like Bill Cosby.
Is the Moose Machine Network room going to also have an open bar?
No, unfortunately.
We're working on that.
We did look into it.
We tried. We
we have
need way better sponsors.
yeah.
You have a brewery.
Well, no, we have a brewery, but it was not the brewery.
The problem was not
the booze.
If the government of Canada wants to sponsor us for all the fees that are required, then
right.
we are totally in.
There's some bylaw issues.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to move on to the round table for tonight. We are going to talk about Menoth.
Really?
We at this point we've literally talked about
have
nothing
to.
but errata for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
All the
Not
poor
the-
Menoth guys on the Twitch chat are like, "Where's the fucking
I told you we'd be halfway through. So we're going to talk about Menoth tonight. The guy we brought on is none other than Kris Aubin. Kris Aubin, if you
Hi.
don't know the history with Kris, and he's not going to be like super open about it. He used to once work for a little company, a little startup.
Called GW.
Yeah, I worked for them.
We can edit
making
that
my
out.
rounds.
So Kris Aubin's the former art director for Privateer Press. He does have, but here, to your credit,
Oh.
you still love this game.
I do. Actually, I kind of fell in love with the game after I'd moved on from Privateer Press, mostly because I had all these models that I really needed to still learn how to play the game with. But yeah, it's been my game of choice for the last 5 years.
I like to also say Kris is largely responsible for
Damn,
the Ottawa
is it
meta.
5 years?
Yeah,
God damn it.
I know.
This is all
yeah.
your fault, Like this
Yeah.
entire
Yeah.
cast.
This
Yep.
cast is your fault.
No, because you got me into it.
I wish I got a royalty check every time I got someone into this game.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
you should become a press ganger.
Oh no,
No.
I don't. They
He's
don't.
seen that sausage from the other side.
Well, I don't think they.
Nobody wants to see that.
They're not going to
sausage.
take me back.
you
so-
know too much.
So Kris is a former member of the PP staff, but we're not going to go in. If you want to learn more about becoming a gamer, or a game designer or artistic designer for games, go back into our podcast archive and go listen to the last 2 podcasts with Kris, because we've delved into that that rabbit hole quite deeply.
This is the 3rd time.
This is the 3rd time. Well, you're now a regular contributor. You're up there with James Craig and Marc Andre.
They're all right.
Speaking
I
of
know
James
them.
Craig,
Those guys.
James is
they got
joining
good-
us on the chat tonight.
They got
There you
good
go.
beards.
That's
The
excellent.
beards.
Let's talk a
Andre's
bit.
gonna
We're
have
going
to
to
get a
talk.
fake one.
We're going to talk a bit about. We're going to talk a bit about Menoth.
Hmm.
We're going to talk a bit about the denial mechanic, because that largely revolves around what Menoth does well.
Does it ever?
But let's start right off the top with tell us what the start with the fluff. What is the Menoth backstory and how does it fit into the whole world?
I'm notorious for not reading the fluff, so I'm going to try to summarize this really
This will
well.
be awesome.
So there was a god named Menoth,
Raw.
and he supposedly had made man within the War Machine world. And then
Out of what?
Out of what?
Yeah.
Oh, Warjacks. I don't know. He just made,
Is this like an extra rib thing? Is this a made of clay thing?
this is my own version.
George, you're not helping.
And so, he made man, and then he was like, "Hey, man, in the afterlife world, Urkhan, I believe it's called.
Yep.
He's like, I got to go fight the worm in giant war. The worm would be the circle.
Later.
Yeah. And so he's like, I got to go fight this war. So whenever you die, you people, being men or ladies, you can join me in the ultimate struggle to fight in the afterlife, which is really kind of a cool Viking-esque like backstory.
Yeah.
So
is this why Menoth players really hate losing models?
they
Because
don't.
they're like, fuck, they're
don't-
going to go into the afterlife
No.
and just fight and fight and fight.
They're happy to.
They're happy
Oh,
to.
they're happy to
Yeah.
go fight.
They never really lose their models.
All right, so leaving the fluff
because
behind.
I reclaimer, what the fuck?
Leaving the fluff behind, which apparently you read nothing about.
I don't.
you may have done some art and shit for it.
I have to read the rules, and that's like hard enough to get into my head.
So explain the design space of Menoth and Mark III. Where do they fit? How do they work? What is the thinking with Menoth?
thinking.
Design space.
Okay, again, take this with a grain of salt. But so Menoth, if you kind of break it down, is the whole army. You generally have a caster that's a little bit squishy, but does a lot of the magic spells they have or abilities are used to kind of buff their own troops or protect their own troops. So generally with Kris, I think you have a lot of spells that target enemy units to debuff them and drag them down. Whereas Menoth, you generally are targeting your own troops to make them better, make them tougher, allow them to hit better. And their feats generally have a lot of denial or recursion kind of feel to it. So, or also is a buff to themselves. So if you look at Krios, he knocks people down. Everyone's knocked down. It's a buff to everyone who's trying to hit those guys. Harbinger creates a nice fat bubble of POW 14 damage that if you move into it, take POW 14. It's a nice little denial bubble. Vindictus, he has a feat where it makes his infantry very hard to target. Can't be targeted by non-magical shooting, can't be charged, can't be slammed, or you probably trampled them. But basically it makes infantry really hard to hit. So basically you're kind of protecting your own stuff.
Okay, so you mentioned denial a little bit.
Are your feet wet?
I'm in
Can you
denial.
see a pyramid?
Not just a river in Egypt.
Mm.
When we talk about denial as a mechanic in the game, what are we talking about?
So I think in the game, during your turn, because War Machine is very much I go, you go, turn sequence. And so during my turn, I want to be able to move my guys, attack your guys by either shooting or charging or doing melee, and cast spells from my spellcasters. So denial is any kind of mechanic which says no and shuts that down. Which, if that is your prime objective to do those three things, move, attack, cast spells, if you can't do that, it really can throw you off your game.
And in particular, one of the major abilities in Menoth is the choir, being able to say, no, you just can't
That's right.
shoot my jacks.
Right, the choir can make it so your jacks hit or do more damage on their attacks, but you can make it so they can't be targeted by spells, which is great, or can't be targeted by non-magical shooting. So you have this great little, these great choices to basically tailor your jacks to protect them in most situations.
So explain the other side of that. You said recursion.
Right.
This is often one of those things that people, misconstrue. They don't really understand what people mean by recursion. What are you talking about when you're talking about a recursion style skill?
Well, they don't have as much recursion as Kris, but recursion is basically when you can bring models back to the table. And the strong point with Menoth right now is the high reclaimer, who can, during his feat, bring back D3 plus 5 models, I believe, which is kind of great because
D3 plus 5.
Yeah, no, most recursion in our other armies, those models come back. But they can't activate or move. They kind of come back and either form a wall or form more bodies that you can then work with next turn. But with the High Reclaimer, you can just put them out there and they go in swinging, which is fantastic. One other great denial kind of recursion not really feat, ability is with the Harbinger, and she's kind of famous for this. Her Martyrdom ability. It's where a model dies within her command of 10. I think that's right. Yeah, 10. And she can take D3 wounds to essentially heal that one model to 1 wound. So if you have a very important solo who gets killed, she'll just take D3 damage, and that guy comes back with 1 health left.
Wow.
This can be great for keeping key models alive, key support alive, or just forming a nice wall of dudes to protect you.
Yeah, totally amazing when you can just keep, I've put this one model in front of your Colossal, so you can't charge. And then I kill it. Well, it doesn't die. And then I kill it, and it doesn't die.
It's pretty fantastic. Although Harbinger is pretty squishy, and that is the thing you get with most Menoth casters that are very priest-like, is that they are support, and they die to a swift breeze, and generally you want to keep them safe.
So, since you've been playing, what would you say right now are your top picks, your best casters in the faction right now?
Mark III has been really generous to Menoth. It's in a good spot. Clearly, High Reclaimer is the top caster which is strange because he
was not.
He was always he was very technical to use in Mark II, but Hand of Fate is great. Hand of Fate has just been this awesome spell where you get an extra die to hit and damage on a unit, and you drop the lowest of each. But so what I've been doing is that I've been running with 2 units of Idrians, the Scourge of Heresy, if you already have a upkeep spell on you, he's getting extra dice anyways, and then 2 units of Knights Exemplar with UAs, which have the same Hand of Fate ability, but called something different as a mini feat.
So they get to stack.
So, yeah, with charging, if you feat and bring those guys back where you want, and mini feat and put Hand of Fate on them, they're charging in with 6 dice, drop 2, which Jason Maelstrom kind of loves seeing that happen.
Do you love that
I go
as
for
much
an
as
ice cream.
Do you love that as much as you love the Commodore cannon?
I hate Commodore cannons and Idrians.
Yeah, Andrews are pretty great. Given prey, they can and combined melee, I believe they have. No, combined range attack.
+2 to attack.
And so Hand of Fate, cycling Hand of Fate's really great.
If anybody's confused, Idrians are really great because they have CRA and CMA, I want to say.
No, they lost
They just
CMA.
have CRA.
Yeah, CRA.
But the cool thing for you is that Idrians are also they become protectorate models.
Right. They're partisans.
They're partisans is the word I'm looking for. Thank you very much. So that makes them even better for you because it means all your feats work, everything works on them.
Right.
As if they're friendly models.
They count as Menoth models, which is great.
Yeah.
Another top cast right now is Severius too, and he's great just because he has Eye of Menoth, I believe. It's an ability he gives to his battle group where they basically can ignore the first damage they take.
Oh, yeah.
Which
1 damage just goes away.
I believe it's 1. I don't know if it's the first. I believe it's 1 damage, which is kind of awesome. So if you want to walk away from a model, they could take a free strike. You can just say, I'm going to ignore it. I believe. Anyways, Sevi 2 is pretty great right now, mostly because he's the top drop against Wormwood, because he can make his battle group ignore the forest, which is fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah. But right now, I really wanted to play Resnick 2 because it took me 2 months to paint that model, and I finally got him together. So I'm trying out 25 games with Resnick 2, and I'm beat Jason or
Oh,
Maelstrom
man.
round 1 with he was using Lilith.
Don't take Lilith to
Yeah.
shooting gun line into
Yeah.
Resnick 2.
I thought I was going to be in trouble there, but Lamentation really shuts down.
Shuts down Wraithbane completely.
It was kind of sad.
Yeah, it
Sorry,
was.
sorry, it was
It
really
was
bad.
beyond sad.
But yeah, I've been playing around with different casters in Mark III and played a bunch of games with High Reclaimer, which has been fun. But I really wanted to try out Resnick 2 and get some practice with them. So
All right. Next question. Suggest a caster or two, if you'd like, for beginning players. Is the battle box good? Should you maybe go start with something else other than the battle box?
yeah, the battle box is interesting. Malekith is the new battle box caster. He's primarily he's a very he's a rounded caster. He has a lot of different things. I don't think he does one thing great. If he does anything, he really kind of runs a fire-based shooting army, because his feat is that any fire damage gets an extra damage die, which is pretty awesome on his feat turn. And then fires don't go out. So any fires that take place within his control area the following round are also boosted. But he doesn't really bring enough to his army to make him, I think, a very competitive caster. In terms of a starting caster, he's pretty good. Because he kind of embodies a lot of the different Menoth things, like set guys on fire. He's not super durable. He runs Jax well. He's okay. I think Krios 1 is still a pretty great starting caster, because he has the denial feat with the knockdown to everybody in his control. He has the plus defender's ward, so +2 defense and armor. And he also has Lamentation and Purification still, I believe. And those are that's like the quintessential Menoth caster right there.
Yeah, good to start with the mainstays so that you're building into the right direction no matter which way you go.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked a bit about you bought the battle. You got your two casters. You bought the battle box. What should be the next thing that you buy? So you've gotten into Menoth. You've decided that's your faction.
Right.
What's the next go-to? What do you buy?
So currently, I think you buy Acquire. Like if you start with Battle Box, the first thing you get is Acquire for sure.
That was true in Mark 1 and Mark 2 as well.
It's just a thing.
Don't leave home with. There's the rare case I don't take Acquire. They're just great, and they help you run your Jax really well. And they also put in that great denial that you need to keep your Jax going.
Before we move on to the next question, I just want to make sure that everybody on the boards knows if you've got a question for Kris, now's the time to ask it.
Yeah, Archimedes wants to know what you think about Resnick 1, Amon, and Fiora.
I think those are all solid casters with their own kind of unique play style.
Mm-hmm.
I would not take any of those as starting casters.
No.
Maybe the exception of Fiora 2, because she is pretty durable. She makes her Jax go faster, and she lights stuff on fire. So those are all things you can kind of work with. And to get into in depth, talk about any of those would be a lot of work.
Have whole casts. Let's go in depth with.
They're
Fiora.
all awesome.
Super in depth with Fiora.
Yeah, does Menoth suffer any bad casters? Do they have any casters that kind of get left on the bottom of the bin every now and then?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I like to think there's no bad casters, just bad players.
Yep.
But there's some casters
there are so
which
many bad players.
There are totally casters I've never played. I think Krios 2 is someone who gets looked over a lot these days, even though, I think mostly because he plays a strong infantry game. And with Mark III, you're seeing so many big Jacks. Not that he couldn't deal with a Jack force, but I think the mindset now is like, I want to take at least half my army as Jack points.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to do that.
Okay.
Cool. So what is Menoth, like what are they tuned to do? What are they really good at?
What are they really good at? So I feel like Menoth is not great at anything, but they're really good. They're always kind of the second
Best at
second best at everything. Like Kador's got harder hitting, heavier warjacks. Signar's warjacks are faster and more accurate, have better guns. Cricks are faster and kind of could get around you a little bit more. But Menoth, they just kind of fit that good old, like reliable the good old pickup truck kind of warjack that, bound with a choir and a few buffs. Like, they just get the job done. For the casters, I don't know.
Having butt tons of focus.
Generally, they have a fair amount of focus, but you do have to see some focus. One focus 5 caster.
And one
Who's-
focus
who's
10
the-
caster with
and
two,
focus 10 is pretty great.
Yeah, with pretty amaze balls. So that kind of answers what it's not good at, because you sort of said they're sort of middle of the road on everything.
Generally, their weaknesses would be Pathfinder.
Right.
There's a few things around that, but they can't get Pathfinder to their jacks, and except for a few instances. I think Amon can give it to them, and then Boundless Charge grants it. But it's really hard to get that Pathfinder you need.
So Wormwood is your weakness.
Wormwood is a issue, but again, there's some ways around
solutions,
that.
yeah,
There's some solutions.
All right, so let's talk about you already answered the question of what's the first thing you buy. What, other than the choir, because we know every Menoth player has to have the choir, what are the other like go-to models? If I'm getting into Menoth, I'm going all in. I'm going to go spend my $300 because I've decided this is going to be the greatest day of my life.
Right.
I'm going to paint for a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? What are the sort of go-to models? What should I get?
Well, right now, of course, Idrians are kind of the hot topic, but I think Temple Flame Guard have always been reliable, and I think they're a really good all-purpose unit. Their mini feat is +3 armor. They can shield wall. They have set defense. I've gotten that unit up to, like, in certain cases, like defense 19 on the odd guy standing on a hill. They don't hit hard, but they're cheap, and they can cover ground and engage people, and with the right buffs on them, they can kind of make up their point value quite easily. And they provide souls. That's the other thing Menoth likes, is sometimes they really like getting souls.
What about that battle engine? It looks really cool.
The Vassal Vessel. There's so many different Vassal things. That thing is really cool. It's really good, and it's got a big gun on it that you can take damage to boost hit and damage, and it can do different things. It's super good, and it's super versatile. And in the errata, a lot of battle engines got a points nerf, but this one didn't.
Yeah.
No.
But
A lot of them got a points boost, like a,
No.
whatever you want to call it, like a
They got lower points.
lower points, so better.
right.
Okay, so we've answered the sort of what things should everybody own. The opposite side of that is, what is complete trash? What should I not buy?
The one thing that everyone is always saying is complete trash, and are deliverers. Deliverers are a unit of 10 guys with rocket launchers. They're
Sounds awesome.
I know, it sounds amazing. I think
really
they're
awesome.
ranged 16, rat 6, which is a little sad.
Why?
Maybe
Why are you not?
sorry, POW 8. POW
Oh.
8 or POW 6. They are very weak AoEs.
They go really far, but they don't kill anything.
Yeah, they're like little flash bombs. But and I've looked at them time and again. I'm like, how do I make these guys good? But there's so many better options. Like, you have warjacks that are better, can take more damage, and throw out the same kind of firepower. Or you have the Sunburst Delivery Crew, which can do much better. 2 of them can do way more damage than the Deliverers. Now, they do get a solo that helps them out, but they're still not quite there.
What's going on over there? I see Archimedes saying a lot.
Yeah, Archimedes. He's our Menoth guy for sure. New Mutant 37, though, would like to know, who do you think is the most dynamic caster? I often feel like their casters are so focused on supporting their force, they kind of feel very static. Who's got a bit of
Get up and go.
dynamic-
Amon?
The get up and go caster, I think, is Krios 3. He's the mounted caster, and that guy has a toolbox that won't quit.
Okay.
He has Force Hammer, so he can knock stuff down. I think he's got Ignite.
There's an ex-girlfriend commenting
Yeah.
there somewhere.
Yeah. Call me Krios. Yeah, it just has like he makes his cavalry units much better by giving them Hand of Fate, essentially. And all his spells are fantastic. And he's fast, and he has reposition, and his feat is that he can cast all his spells for free. So, yeah, he's very dynamic, very fast, can get around the board.
And that all the ponies list with him
Oh, yeah.
is just stupid.
It's awesome.
So good.
You have 3 units of cavalry.
Him with all of those, the light jack that gets to just fire 3 times his AoEs
Yeah.
into everything. Oh,
Yeah, the Redeemer's pretty good for a light jack. It gets 3 range 16, pow 12 shots. Now, it's inaccurate, so it's at -4. So your rat's 1 when you're generally shooting it.
yeah, but if you're running all that cavalry, they stand still every turn, and the cavalry runs out there, smacks things, runs away, and then they bombard the line again.
It's true, and if you do miss what you are going to do with those Redeemers,
Yeah.
their armor's strong enough that they can stand up to it.
Yeah. So how do you feel Menoth is positioned against the other factions right now?
I feel like Menoth is well positioned, especially if you kind of like look at the errata as some evidence. Like there were no big nerfs or buffs. It's like they did a little bit of bookkeeping to fix a few things, and they've even said that Menoth's in a good spot. I think Menoth is in a really good spot because even to figure out who's like the worst caster for Menoth right now, I'm like, man, but they all bring something pretty solid to the table. Now there's definitely situations and scenarios where you have bad matchups, right? Like if I bring an army that with no Pathfinder and Wormwood shows up, I'm in trouble. But like there's answers for that. And so even casters you don't see in the competitive side very often are still fairly competitive, which is kind of nice.
James, or TK Cultist, would like to know,
Who's that guy?
honest question, are Menoth Cav worth it?
For sure. They
Yeah.
are awesome. But they need support.
Yeah.
You need to be able to. So the heavy cav, the Avengers are awesome. They have blessed lances, I believe, magical pound 9 swords that are weapon masters.
Nice.
And if they ever take any damage, you get +2 strength and +2 armor for the rest for the round. So it's like, please hit me so that I'm more durable. And if
Yeah.
you stack Defender's Ward on that, or something else that gives them +2 armor, which generally most Menoth casters have,
Yeah.
they're sitting pretty. And yes, go ahead.
No. That's kind of perfect. Which kind of leads into the next question, sort of in a weird roundabout way.
Yeah.
If
Is
you
the
would,
round table.
is there because it is the round table?
Yes.
How do you?
Segue.
So we had the errata. We already talked about that Menoth didn't see any changes. If something needs to be fixed, and you and I have talked about this in depth, so I know that there's an answer. You can't just be like, no, it's perfect, fuck off. What is the change that you see coming down the road, or what is it that we need to alter in Menoth that's a little skewed?
Leading up to this errata, people were screaming about the High Reclaimer, given he can kind of just walk through things fairly easily and pop in that assassination hit when he needs to. So I think he's going to take a nerf when they get around to doing it. Hand of Fate is pretty strong, and it works very well with him. He never really had that kind of punch before, so leaving it with him right now would be good. And it's on a bunch of different casters right now as well. So they would, if they're going to change, they can't really change Hand of Fate. I think taking away is too much. His feat right now is D3 plus 5 models come back and then get to do whatever they want. They could reduce it back to D3 plus 3 for the feat, which is, I believe, what it was in Mark II. Or they could make it a little more like a standard recursion where you could bring the models back, but then they just stand there and do nothing.
I like that idea. Let's do that.
Why don't people run him with Cav?
They do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I would imagine that Cav appearing in your backline and then doing horrible things to your caster is just impossible to deal with.
No, he's a bit limited bringing back big base models, just because of the his limited control range. It's with only 10 inches.
Oh, okay. So it's literally just trying to get far enough forward and have a place to put down those large bases becomes an issue.
That's right. You have to get him in there, and you have to hope you accomplish your goal of winning that game that round.
Yeah.
Plus, you're getting D3 plus 5 of them back. I mean, really, you have five cav in a unit anyway.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to bring back all Cav, but I was thinking one unit of Cav, it could just be devastating.
Now, a good counter to High Reclaimer, which might be a question there, I don't know, is that if you can RFP models, it's always great because you can't bring them back.
RFP is king, baby.
RFP is pretty good.
Good with lots of things.
Or if you can totally eradicate a unit from the table.
That doesn't work
because
with
any
tentacles,
recursion for the feet,
that?
they have to come back to the existing unit.
RFP doesn't
so-
work with tentacles, does it? Because you just get to bring shit back.
Those are new tentacles, I'll have you know.
Yeah, they're not the same tentacles.
They're not the same tentacles.
Not the new tentacles.
The new tentacles. The old ones could be RFP'd. It's fine. It's just
Tentacles. They made them better.
Tentacles.
That was weird.
Oh,
Wow.
there looks like a serious question here.
Sorry.
Quick,
Go with
serious
Archimedes'
question.
Archimedes has another question.
Yeah.
No, you're not being overbearing. Don't worry about it.
Maybe.
So this is probably more for Kris. So are you more excited for the Eye of Truth, Fiora 3, or Durant 2, and why?
Okay. Quick cap on all three. Eye of Truth. It's going to be Malekith's character jack. I feel like that the new Battle Box casters getting character jacks is a huge mistake because I feel like a lot of other existing casters could get those character jacks and it would be way cooler because I do not want to play Malekith.
Yep.
Fiora 3 is... I love Fiora. Fiora is great. I played Fiora 2 a ton. She's great. And I think giving her a My Little Pony to ride around on and light stuff on fire and lead from the front is something I really want to see. Durant 2, yeah. I have Tristan 2. He's really interesting because initially I looked at his card and I'm like, this kind of guy seems a little weak on paper, even though he had Manifest Destiny. And the more I play around with the lists, I'm like, man, this guy could do a few different kinds of lists really, really well. So I'm looking forward to playing Durant 2, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Fiora 3's rules.
All right. We asked this of everybody who's been on the cast doing their overview of the faction. How do you deal with Jack spam with Menoth?
I kill the jacks. So
he's not kidding.
So
That's the problem.
Menoth's quite lucky in that if they have exemplars and that constitutes 3 or 4 or 5 different kinds of units in their army, and they all have Weapon Master. So generally, if you're only a POW 9 or a POW 11, maybe POW 13, depending on the unit, you're going in with 4 dice to hit, and against like an 18, 19, 20 armor, you can get a little bit of work done. So if you can gang up a few models, you can usually cripple a jack enough.
I've seen it. I've watched 5 freebooters go down in a round. I want to say.
Yeah. And even with Idrians with Prey, like in the with the High Reclaimer, we're giving them a Hand of Fate, and then doing some combined range attacks. Like I took down a behemoth quite easily by shooting it, going to ground, and next turn
not broken.
charging 3 little Idrians into the behemoth and just
fair and
killing
balanced.
it.
Yeah. # fair and balanced. So
Don't nerf them.
we're gonna leave. It's all I have.
Don't worry, you've got 6 months to abuse the fuck out of them.
So final question for the evening, and then we'll move on. We're gonna go a little bit long tonight because there was a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's get some list suggestions from Kris Aubin, particularly for new Menoth players, because that's kind of who we hope are listening to this cast. I know that there's some, like hardened Menoth players that are like, "You're wrong, Kris Aubin."
That's
always
fine.
will.
I'm
Please email
probably
him,
wrong a lot.
Kris.aubin@gmail.com.
That's not my email.
Really? I was trying to help you out, but you could be like, "Yeah, that's my email. You can email me anytime."
Don't talk to me.
You heathens.
What are your sort of go-to lists right now, and tell me why?
My go-to lists. So right now, I said I'm playing Resnick 2. The idea of playing watching Storm players play their Battle Engine caster last edition was pretty great, and I'm like, I really need to get this guy out on the table. And again, looking at his card list, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not great at deciphering the rules until I get them on the table and see how it works. But he grants blessed weapons to people in his control, and that's actually super strong ability because you can just ignore all those defensive buffs people get on, especially like Signar with their +3 armor they always get. You're just like, no, you're just normal armor, bro, and I'm gonna kill you. So. Just normal armor.
Normal armor, bro.
Yeah. So I'm really.
He does that during games too.
Yeah.
No, you just normal armor, bro.
Is that
and I'll kill you.
I just don't even put that token down. Don't matter. Yeah. So Resnick 2 is really someone who's pretty fun right now. For me.
What's in that list?
So he likes Jax. I'm playing with around a few lists, but I think a unit of Idrians because hey, why the hell not? They kind of do everything you want them to do. And
you own 2. You may as well play 1.
I should at least play one of them. The other one's so lonely when they don't bring both though. So unit Idrians because they can take out they can deal with a lot of stuff, and they work fairly independently. And they get a benefit from the blessing spell, which I totally forget what it's called right now. Okay, lightning rod.
I'm just queuing things.
He definitely wants Scourge of Heresy, who is his character Jack, who is awesome, and he's won me many a games, mostly against you guys, because he wrecks face all the time.
It's
I don't know
true.
why you guys don't kill him. And right now I'm running 2 Guardians because what's better than 19 armor Warjack is a armor 21 Warjack. So Resident 2 has balance. I'm just telling you what I'm going to do to you guys, and you're going to figure it out.
That's why we invited you.
Why we,
How do we beat you?
You're
the
only
point
on
of the
the
question.
So now, the next question really is, so if you were to play this list, what do you? Just kidding. All right, so you got some cool jacks and some stuff, and acquire.
And
right?
acquire, of course, and the mechanics. Mechanics are cheap, and they repair him, which is awesome because he's a construct. Well,
We've
he's
seen
not a
that.
construct, but he can be repaired.
He's repairable.
He's repairable. Lastly, with the errata, which is really cool, he's a battle engine, and so he no longer suffers from grievous wounds. So I can heal him all day long.
That's right.
Ugh.
Yeah. Put that in
So-
your pipe and smoke it.
This question is totally on my list. Hypothetically, if I were to take 8 freebooters and run them into you, how would I win?
You wouldn't.
Yeah. You want me to answer this?
No, not at all. It's all good.
If I were a Legion
If
player,
I were a Legion player, which caster should I take? If I were hypothetically playing COC all the time and nothing else.
It's not, usually it's not that hard to beat me. I don't know what I'm doing.
You just have to confuse him by adding rules.
Yeah, you just keep playing new stuff, and I'm like if George is playing with his convergence, he's like, my Supifulator is going to use its Compopulous weapon, and I'm like, I don't know what that means.
It says in its card, all Menoth.
George would probably
things
just make it up
die.
anyway.
The thing is, as long as you channel weird mathematical terms, nobody asks. Everybody's
right.
like, yeah, that sounds like fucking convergence shit.
Don't
Totally
talk.
does.
Don't talk math to
It's
me.
your Zimbabulator. My Zimbabulator's 20 of them. I'm
20
allowed to
Zimbabulators?
take them all.
Well, only
And they
only in the
automatically
theme
kill.
force.
They only in my theme force they kill all solos. So
No, that's silly.
in their command
they
range.
start with 3 solos dead.
Yeah. All right. This is why Swordledge is a terrible idea. Hit that
I
button.
think it's a great idea.
The lightning round.
The new year, we're gonna do ones of those.
All right, ladies and
No.
gentlemen, it's time. What? You're still talking. We just finished. Oh. All right, it's time for the lightning round.
What's that?
We've all played
What?
this. We know how
What?
this works.
What?
I'm going to ask questions.
What?
Chris is going to win this round because they're mainly Menoth questions.
Oh no.
Hopefully you read some of the errata. Hey, with this microphone I can back up.
Oh,
You guys can't
shit.
even try to read.
We've told
Over
you
my-
before, your chicken scratch is not legible by anybody.
I can't
It's
even
true.
read it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, question number 1. What does a Mad Dog cost? Go.
9 points.
It does cost 9 points. 1
Thank
point for
God.
That's
Thank God.
that's not a Menoth question.
If you're at home, you can play along. Just try to answer it as fast as you can on the chat. If you're listening to this later, answer it for yourself and feel good about yourself. Question number 2. Fiora has veteran leader with which unit type?
Meh.
Go, Chris.
Temple Flame Guard.
It is the Flame Guard. Question number 3. The Harbinger of Menoth has how many focus?
10.
Oh, I don't know. I'm taking away a point because you answered you didn't let me choose who buzzed in first.
That's fine.
It's fair and
I
balanced.
don't care about points.
I'm a Menoth player. I just debuff you. You all lose 1 point. Question number 4. The Vessel of Judgment is point cost what?
Eh.
Who was that? Chris? That was Chris.
Eh.
Go for. I can't tell through the beard.
18 points.
It is 18 points.
It's
Very
still
good.
18
I was going to
points.
say
Yeah.
19.
Okay.
You don't know.
I don't
Question
know. I was
number-
just going to guess.
Question number
That's a good
5.
guess.
Question number 5. An Idrian chieftain has Matt what?
Eh.
Go, Chris.
7.
That's very good. You're doing well.
It's the only unit I play.
Question. Well, is a chieftain? No, I don't see chieftains alive.
He has to be there.
Oh, I didn't know that. I just killed that guy, I think, last time. Question number 6. A model's melee range is limited to its front arc. True or false? I I'm gonna have to go with George.
True.
He
It
didn't
is
let you
true.
finish the question.
You're
Yeah,
right.
That's how true or false questions work.
Oh, okay.
Thank God they
Question number
fixed it.
7. The avatar of Menoth is whose character, Jack? Chris.
Menoths.
That's true. Technically, it was a trick question. It was none, but it is Menoth.
Son of
It
a
is
character,
Menoth.
Jack. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Menoth himself.
He is
comes
so
down
on
to-
the ball.
That's right.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Question number 8. This ability allows a warjack to avoid being targeted by non-magical ranged attacks. What is it? Go.
Passage.
What?
Holy shit.
That's like correct and
I use it on him all the
Oh,
time.
I see.
And he yells
This is
at
the battle scars.
passage.
I learn from the
five-
ways I die.
35 points to Maelstrom.
What?
I'm always. You just have to keep like not answering questions and then just answer one brilliantly once in a while.
When nobody expects it.
Question number 9.
Fucking Spanish
High
Inquisition.
Exemplar Krios' sword Spellbreaker has what ability?
Okay.
I have to go to
Spell
George.
piercer?
Purification.
What does it do?
Eh.
It doesn't actually have like a name. It's like it does
Oh.
a certain thing. What does it do?
It does blessed, I would assume.
No.
No.
It removes
Chris.
upkeep.
It dispels upkeep spells.
It does. It makes all
didn't
upkeep
in.
spells
I did, but it
expire
was super late.
on a unit or stuff and things.
or stuff
Dispel.
and things.
All right.
Loose machine.
All right, we're
Exactitude
going
for
in.
you.
We're going into the Minty Fresh question of the day. As soon
Oh
as
no! Did you hear?
What?
There's a second Monpok player.
What?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
impossible.
Any minute now, we're going to see a battle report. I swear.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen,
Ugh.
in which city and what year was Darton Vilmon born?
Oh.
Chris, go.
Sewell. 1969.
Oh
In the
yeah.
summer of '69.
Did you say Soul 19?
I'm gonna give you the
Sewell.
points because you did
Sewell,
get you did
S-U-L.
get Sewell, which like that's more than we normally expect
Zool.
with the Minty Fresh question, unless you're Matt. It is 576 AR, but nobody's
Wow.
expected to actually remember those numbers.
No.
That would be
No.
insane.
567.
I'm gonna give you a point. The winner of this week's round is not Maelstrom because I'm not actually going to give you 35 points for answering the one question. But that was great.
They're all War Beast points.
It's Chris Aubin. Congratulations, Chris Aubin, for being super
You just
good.
let me win so it'll come back.
Yeah, it's kind of true.
It's gonna work.
It's not
And
wrong.
we gave you brandy beans and cookies and beer.
Brandy beans haven't been opened yet.
We're going to do that before we leave
Yeah, sorry.
and chug this bottle of sortilege.
Yep.
Because that's the Canadian
Gross.
way.
Stick around for the
Aftercast is
after
just
show.
us.
Where we get to
The post ramble.
The post ramble, which is really rambling. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got to do a few shout outs tonight. I want to thank Crooked Mile Brewer for blah, blah, blah. I want to thank Crooked
For
Mile
getting you
for
sloshed.
doing this. I want to thank Crooked Mile Brewery for providing the beer for tonight.
Yep.
Please, if you're in the Almont area, go check them out.
We
and
drank it all. Just
talk
so
about
you know.
games and stuff. They will love it.
Yeah.
Because they don't get to
Ooh.
play games as much anymore.
We need to.
We're working on that.
Yeah.
Second thing we got to do a shout out for. Musa Minis officially sent out a box of goodies for MooseCon.
Wow.
It should arrive in the mail very, very soon.
Nice.
And John is going to be on the podcast in the next month. We got exciting things
Oh, wow.
coming up.
Wow.
Damaris
know.
himself.
John Damaris
Yeah.
Oh no.
and John Damaris. Both
Are they
of them.
both coming?
They're both going to be on.
Are they both going to be on the
Yeah.
screen at once? I thought
wait,
that they
wait till you see what his Skype name is. It is the most hilarious.
I
thing.
heard that if they ever touch, the world folds in upon
Yeah,
itself.
it does. Don't let the streams cross. Don't let the Don Johns cross.
Wow.
After that, I got to thank them because they also make sure that our podcast goes out to all you folks because you would not know who we were
Oh,
if
hells
it
no.
weren't for Muse on Minis. And last but not least, we got to talk about the Wizard's Tower a little bit. So I was in this week, picked up a bunch of stuff, which you guys are really going to hate me for having later.
Do you have my
Sorry.
Kale Baylock?
I do have a
Oh.
I do have one, and
Give
I
him
have.
to me.
Well, I can give you yours back
Thank
because
you.
he did not get nerfed. He's still awesome. Yeah. So Maelstrom can complain about something else being
I like to
super
complain.
overpowered.
Yeah.
Fucking pirates.
Because I would have won top of 2 if you didn't have good stuff.
Fucking pirates.
Or if I had a broad Lilith 3.
Yeah, something like that. So I picked up my. Have you been into Wizard's Tower this week, Roger?
Yes, I have. Actually, I bought some Magic cards.
Ooh.
What?
What?
Yeah.
We can edit that out.
Oh, yeah, well, just sorry. I bought some bleep cards.
Yeah.
What set did you buy for?
I bought a commander deck.
Ooh, oh.
Are you the commander?
Commander
now?
card
crap.
commander
I
deck.
kind of want to do that too.
Yeah.
No, we're all
it's
gonna
a
become dirty.
4-player
Oh,
game.
no.
Dirty,
You
dirty
get
Magic
the
know.
wives, you, me,
Won't happen.
Beck.
That's
I bet your wife would play
April.
that.
Probably.
All right, fair enough. So anyway,
Depends
I think that's all of our shout-outs for this evening. We have so much more to talk about. We could go on for hours and hours, but you'll have to wait for next week.
I think they're going to have to wait longer than that because it's Christmas.
Oh, yeah, it is Christmas. So we're going to take a
Christmas!
week off next week.
2 weeks,
and
isn't
then
it?
Christmas
Yeah.
podcast.
we will not be doing a Christmas podcast.
I might
No.
play a game in my basement with
But
somebody.
there will be something probably happening
Yeah.
in the New Year range, somewhere in there, because I got nothing better to do until my wife tells me otherwise. But then January is going to be a big month for us because we've got all kinds of really cool guest stars.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't have to drag in
2017 is
we
the
don't
year
have
of
to drag
the moose.
in the dregs.
The dregs of society.
I'm just kidding. That's terrible.
That is horrible.
It used to be so exciting.
Why are you looking at me?
That's it.
Wow.
I'm only kidding. I
We
was-
should not let him
Usually
drink.
I'm the sloshy drunk.
I was just joking. All right, guys, that's it for tonight. We're
Comic
going to let
joking.
you all go home now. Good night.
No.
Bye, everybody.
Dice down! Moose Machine and This Death Clock Has 60 Minutes is a proud part of the Muse on Minis network. Podcasts go online every Thursday morning. You can watch the show live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on Twitch and keep in touch with us on our Facebook page. Just Google Moose Machine. If you can't find us, you're doing the internet wrong.